From the halls of assembly, you'll hear us scream and shout. Our love of Indiana is manic and devout. Everything IU we discuss in unique manner. We won't be satisfied until we hang another banner. Us two goofy guys go by names of Ward and Eric. And as you probably know by now, we're Hoosier hysterics. Hoosier hysterics. Hoosier hysterics.
Hello, Ward.
Hello, Eric.
Do you like my new piece of, it's like every 3 days, a new piece of IU football championship merchandise comes in that I forget that I bought?
You were just scrolling in bed one night and clicked a few too many buttons, and there it is.
Instagram just has me. It just has me in its grips. You know, this one's pretty good, though. I got to say, Roback is the company. It's very simple, just the IU national championship patch, very soft. Yeah. I got my beanie that I love. It's my favorite beanie in the world.
I love their smoothies too.
Roback, yeah, real good, real good.
I did get my Sports Illustrated special edition yesterday, and it just brought all the feels because my grandmother, the original Indiana Hoosier fan in my family line, got, my dad into it, me into it. She got me a Sports Illustrated subscription every year for my birthday. And of course, Night Court, the legendary Night Court cover, sure. Hoosier Hero.
Yeah, those are the ones you remember, not the swimsuit edition.
Well, I remember them for very different reasons. I had very different experiences with those. And when I think about my grandmother, it's not for the swimsuit edition. It is, in fact, for the Bobby Knight edition, the Damian Bailey issue. And then, thinking about there's Indiana on the cover of Sports Illustrated again. The reason this is the best one ever, it is cover to cover. Every millimeter of that magazine is all about this championship season of the Indiana Hoosiers. And I haven't, there's too much family. There's too many humans around for me to just tell them to all go away so I could focus on that. But what I did do, because they're, as you might have guessed, they're a little bit over me bringing up the Indiana National Championship right now. They make a whole thing about how I can't let one day go. I'm like, you're lucky I even let an hour go without bringing it up. But I gathered them all around the dinner table last night, and I was like, guys, I got us something. And, slowly open the manila envelope. So they're all thinking it's something like really cool, maybe like a family picture from Japan. Yeah. And it's just Heisman Mendoza stretched out for the.
And was there a collective? Oh,
yeah. See, he couldn't even let it go. Now, I thought we were going to get away with it today.
Well, as always, we are
powered by
CommunityCars.com, sponsor of the pod, Hoosier Hysterics. CommunityCars.com, Hoosier Legends talk with Ward and Eric. CommunityCars.com.
And fade out. I get to mention this guy's name. Longtime listener of the podcast, Pat Judson, who I mentioned a couple weeks ago anonymously, who is looking for a car and working with Community Cars. He has very specific needs for the car that he wants. It's a very specific used model with a certain number of miles on it. And guess what? They're working with him. They're searching far and wide. His wife may need a different car as well. They're working with him on that. The bottom line is he's basically got a car concierge. That's what they should call it.
Ooh. Carconcierge.com.
Community concierge.
No, just go Community Cars Concierge.
Community Concierge.
The problem is the spelling. I couldn't spell it. You couldn't spell it. Most people couldn't spell concierge. You can't even pronounce it first time.
I can't spell concierge.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I thought you were saying I couldn't spell concierge.
Well, I mean,
can't say it or spell it.
The hard part isn't the first vowel.
So anyway, if you want a Community Cars concierge, all you have to do is call them, reach out to them. They're going to take care of you. They're going to work with you to make sure that the car you end up getting fits your needs. It's the one that you want, you're excited about. And what could be better than a Community Concierge?
50% of all proceeds go to us.
Nope. I wish.
I mean, this is the opening shot of negotiations.
Yeah, right. The second shot is nope, and then we go okay.
Okay.
All right. Look,
this
is a special podcast episode.
Okay. Oh, good.
Because we are talking to legends and we are celebrating the greatest of all time. And we've had the pleasure and honor of talking to several people from the 1976 team and the 75 team a few times and getting to know them a little bit. But having two together in the 50th anniversary year is truly special. And that's the bulk of this episode. That said,
there, I knew it was coming.
we need to have an honest conversation about Indiana basketball and where we are.
Yeah, no, we have it all the time off the podcast. Why not on?
All right. So look, I was talking to my dad this morning, and I'm like, yeah, I know, Dad. Worst loss to Purdue in 57 years.
Since your dad was there.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's embarrassing, and it's awful, and it's heart-wrenching and humiliating. And my dad's like, it's just unbelievable how bad we are.
Now, you said 50 years, but it's been 57 years.
57 years.
Yeah.
Did I say 50?
I thought so. Maybe you said 57 and I
thought I said 57 because I was trying to do the math in my head, but it was 69. So
nice.
Yeah, but my dad said, moron. My dad said to me, it's amazing how bad we are. And I'm like, no, Dad, we aren't. We're not bad. You know, Oregon is bad. Penn State, Rutgers, Northwestern. Those are bad teams. They really are. They're really bad. Metrics-wise, record-wise. We're not bad.
Eyeball test-wise.
Yeah, we're not bad. We're not really good. We're 8-8 in the conference, right? Like Dennis Green, you are what your record says you are. And isn't that what he said?
We are who we thought they were.
Well, who said? No,
wait,
Bill
they
Parcells is the one.
Bill
Parcells is the one who said, you are what your record says you are. Like, that's who you are. And that's who we are. You know, people got all worked up when we were 8-6 because it seemed like we were rolling, but the schedule is the schedule. And you have to take a step back and look at the schedule. And we've played enough of the good teams on the road now. And we're mediocre. Like, we're maybe slightly above a mediocre team. But there are... Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to get too caught up in the semantics, right? Because you know, it's like, how do you label something along the way? So to your point about the record, it's like we're middle of the pack. We're not towards the top of the good teams, at the bottom of the bad teams. We're in the middle with the middling teams. I feel that's like as objective as we can be. It's like we're right there kind of in the middle.
Yes. Now, we have said from the beginning that the bar for, let's call it, a successful season, and I know we're going to get into some semantics here again, but the bar was you have to make the tournament. Like, you just have to make the tournament. You're spending $10 to $12 million on this roster. There's plenty of other first-year coaches that had to rebuild a team. You and I talked about this off podcast, but you look at, you know, NC State and Villanova and Texas and Miami, Florida, and just look a couple states to the west, and there's Iowa, who seems to be safely in the tournament. They have a tough game today. It's Sunday. They have a tough game today where they play Wisconsin on the road. But there's a handful of other teams that have first-year coaches that had to rebuild their teams and basically brand new teams, and they're pretty safely in the tournament. We have to be safely in the tournament.
Well, it is careening towards something very similar that happened last season at West Virginia.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it Indiana, but it's true.
No, I mean, and I don't know if Darren had a completely new roster in West Virginia, but it had to be pretty close. And I think there was a strong argument to be made. He should have made the tournament last year. Maybe some shenanigans with UNC getting in there instead of them. But either way, here we are, Division I, Power 4 program. This one better resourced than West Virginia. And you're kind of right on the edge of what I think most of us would deem a successful season or not. And so what do you do besides if the record playing against good teams, let's set aside Purdue at home, because Purdue at home, our home, Assembly Hall, always is an outlier. You kind of have to throw records out the window for that one. And then, you know, winning that double overtime game at Pauley Pavilion is even more impressive when you see that the Bruins just took down Illinois in overtime in Pauley Pavilion. But aside from those two, we really haven't had two very impressive wins.
No. That's exactly right. And this is, if you're looking for areas to be concerned about as far as how the tournament looks, look, we're now 41 in KenPom. That's the lowest we've been all season. We're 30th in Bart Torvik, which is the lowest we've been since like the second week of November. We're 36th in the net, which is the lowest we've been in the net. We're on a little bit of a downward trajectory. But when you really dig into the numbers, and I looked at Bart Torvik because you can filter it out pretty easily. We have the 24th ranked offense in the country overall. That's good.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty good in year one.
And that's
the
made
51st defense.
Yeah.
Not great, but not terrible, Ward, when you combine those two together. Not terrible.
No, and when you look at the last two regimes, those are respectable rankings.
Absolutely. But then when you filter it for versus top 100, where are we? We are the 45th best offense, not very good. And we are the 123rd ranked defense. Bad. Against top 50 teams, we are the 73rd ranked offense, and we are the 111th ranked defense. Neither good. And look, we were told, and this team was built to shoot three-pointers, and they do. Over 50% of our shots are from three. That is a crazy number. You know, we went from famine to feast pretty quickly on Indiana basketball, not shooting threes to shooting a ton of them.
But you and I could shoot a bunch of three-pointers. The real question is how many go in?
And that's really what's been interesting about this team, because from a three-point make perspective, percentage-wise, we are 135th in the country. That's not elite. Now, we do make up for it, the old quantity versus quality argument. There is an argument that quantity does matter, and it does. As long as you're shooting over 33%, you know, the more you take, you're better than shooting a bunch of twos at 50%. That's just the way the math works. And we're slightly over 33%. We're at 34.5% as a team. But it's not elite. And no one on the team is shooting more than 39%, higher than 39%. And that's really what's held us back.
Yeah, because it was a conscious decision. Not that there weren't a few misses of guys that they wanted who were bigger and more athletic, but ultimately the priority was shooting. And in doing so, we're like, okay, well, this team is going to maybe struggle to keep up on the perimeter with more athletic guards or to bang down low with the bigger, springier fives and fours. But that's okay because we'll be a really good shooting team. And at times it seems like we are. And certainly at times it seems like Lamar Wilkerson is, or for 4 games, Nick Dorn is, or for a few games, Tucker is. But when you take a step back as the season is almost over, you're like, boy, the quality of shooting did not make up for the lack of size and athleticism.
Oh, I think that is 100% right. And, you know, it's you and I, we talk about metrics all the time. I love poring over the metrics. You're more of a eyeball guy and record guy and who have we beat and big picture.
Yeah, I don't like math. Let's just call it that.
No, but the truth is, almost every season, it's the same story with you and I. They're divergent paths. Like the metrics say one thing and the record says something else. And as the season goes, they do tend to come together, right?
Yeah, they do.
This has been a weird year because the metrics have liked us from the beginning. And the truth is, we gamed the system this year more than we ever have before.
Yeah. And even throughout the year, keeping starters in to try to score as many points, even when games has been decided, it has been about continuing to game the system, not just a bunch of cream puffs up top that you wipe the floor with and kind of put money in the bank for when you're taking some losses later in the season.
Look, even like the Purdue game, that should have been a 40-point loss. I mean, I think they were up by 35, 36 with several minutes left, and Purdue stopped playing. I mean, they put in their scrubs, they put in a second unit, and we kept our starters until the end of the game, basically. Mm-hmm. We put them in and kept them in, I think, till like maybe less than a minute left. But that probably was like a 10-point swing that matters a little bit. It doesn't matter a ton, but it matters a little bit. But what really matters is when we played all those terrible teams at the beginning and we waxed them. Mm-hmm. We were scoring 90 to 100 points. We broke 100 a couple times. We were shooting threes like crazy. The metrics have been elevated. And when you lock in a certain sample size of those, 15 games against terrible teams, it's really hard to have giant moves away from that number because you've locked in so many. And what we've seen is the metrics have slowly crept down to match the record. And in the end, all that matters is results. That is what matters. And I was looking at the best way to look at it, I do think, is looking at the net. What's our record versus quad 1 and quad 2 teams? Our record right now against quad 1 and quad 2 teams is 4-10.
Not
okay?
Good. Not good.
It's not good, and we only have 2 more chances left in the regular season for quad 1 or quad 2 games. Michigan State home will be a quad 1. Ohio State on the road will be a quad 2 game. Oh, wait, it may be... No, that'll be a quad 1 also. Sorry, both of those will be quad 1 wins. So the best that we can do is 6-10.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to compare that. I looked at Woody's last 2 seasons, which were terrible. We missed the tournament both years. Both years, ironically, were the same exact record against quad 1 and quad 2 teams for Woody. 9-13.
Oh,
9-13. Better than 6-10.
And there were more opportunities there, obviously.
Yeah, because they scheduled better.
Yeah.
Now, some of it is the Big Ten. Some of it is the Big Ten. We
Right.
just haven't had as many. But we had better schedule.
Mm.
You know, not great. It wasn't a great schedule with Woody. I always complained about that. But we were 9-13. So 20. And look, we still have the Big Ten tournament where you could get a couple more. So
That's
those
true.
count too.
Yep.
And if you make the tournament, that's a game for your ultimate record. But we are not better versus good competition this year than we have been under Woody. We're not.
I'd really like to see the numbers guy on second halves. You know, I feel like there's been you're not going to do it right here in front of me.
Yourself.
But it feels to me we're up to at least 6, if not 7 or 8 second halves where it seemed like we were in it or we could be competitive, and then we just get run out of the gym. And it's embarrassing that you're like, hey guys, we're out there, we're in this game. And it, because you brought up Woody, and that's what kind of sparked my thought about this, of like, there were just so many times where it didn't feel like there was enough pride or cohesion or just fight and grit to just like hang in there and refuse to get beaten down because, hey, you're next to me, you're on the other side of me, this name's on our jersey, those fans are up in the stands or they're at home. Like, let's not just let them crush us. And there's just so many second halves this season where I'm like, this is over. Like, this is over. And, you know, you look at Illinois or how Purdue was going, and you're like, okay, these are top 10 teams. These are potential Final Four teams. Never mind the way we were able to play with Purdue in Assembly Hall. And I know that again, is an outlier, as previously mentioned, being at home against your arch rival. But you know that this team has it in them. They dug it out on the road in Westwood in double overtime. And because we also saw in a couple of the wins in the second half, them blowing double-digit leads. So it has been something we've seen time and again, that whether it's just a mental toughness or a focus or whatever it is in the second half, if you're up, you take your foot off the gas, off their throat, or if you're down, you just kind of roll over and say, okay, we don't have a chance today, let's pack it up.
Yeah, it's interesting. I look at it a little different. Not to say that doesn't happen, but I have this, I feel like you and I have had this conversation. I have it with my dad all the time, where it's like we go up and we're up in the early part of the game, I don't know, 19-9 or 23-10, and then it's 8 points at halftime, and then we blow it, and my dad will be like freaking out, like, how did we blow that lead? And I'm like, because we're not better than the other team by 15 points. And that's why the games are 40 minutes, that you can get hot. Lamar Wilkerson can have a stretch where he is unstoppable. The other team can have a stretch where they're not playing well. But like Nebraska at home,
yes,
who is a top 15 team, they're better than us. And over the course of 40 minutes, even at home, that comes through. You can't look at just the first half versus the second half. But I look at it as like the game is 0 to 40 minutes, and you have to just look at the whole game.
But you're referring to first half leads. I'm talking about second half leads, because we were up by double digits in the second half. And I'm sure at that point, I don't care what happened in the first half. You just have to have the killer instinct. And that is where I'm like, you clearly are good enough. You have the physical capability of getting more points than this team. And because it wasn't just once or twice against teams that are clearly better than us, like there's something going on between the ears that you can't continuously get beat by such a large margin in the second half.
Yeah, I hear that. I just think it's because we're not that good. I really believe.
But I think that's part of why we're not that good, because we can't maintain a double-digit lead in the second half. You really think we're that much less talented than Nebraska?
Yes, for total talent, size, position talent, depth. Yes, I do. I think Connor Enright plays his ass off, but is a severely limited point guard who does not even look at the basket unless he has to. I think that Lamar Wilkerson is a stud offensive player. I don't think he's that great defensively. I think Tucker has become a really good role player who at this level cannot defend really anybody. You put him on a big man, they kill him. You put him on a smaller guy, they go right by him. He fouls a lot. I think Reed Bailey is a zero. I think Nick Dorn is a mid-major player who had a 4-game stretch that was really good, but my God, we've got a bigger sample size now. He's not consistent enough. I'm not saying these guys can't be good and can't be good for stretches, but yeah, I think Nebraska is significantly better than us from a talent perspective, and they've got several guys that have been there multiple years, and they're more cohesive, and they're a more cohesive team.
Well, and that's where we have to have, patience with the idea of what's this team going to look like next year? How many of those guys are going to come back? And there's a bit of a foundation. It doesn't seem like great at this point that there's like this amazing core coming back that's being built upon, but hopefully it's going to be more than it was this year for sure.
Yeah.
But regardless, I don't think the talent differential, even with a Purdue, is that like Illinois seems like on another level. Michigan is on another level. But when you're just getting manhandled and steamrolled, what were we up by 14 or 16 against Nebraska in the second half? I'm sorry. I don't think there's a big enough point differential that you shouldn't be able to just say, no, this is like with your mental toughness, just figure it out. Just not let it happen. Call the timeouts, pull each other together and just dig deeper. But without,
I agree with you when I'm watching the game. I agree. It's a tough thing, Ward, because I think you're looking at it like, okay, we're up by 16. There's 8 minutes left or 12 minutes left. Nothing else matters. It's a 12-minute game and we have a 16-point lead, right? So
each play has a life of its own.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fair. And I think I look at it like water finds its level, and that even though it happened from minutes 21 to 28 in the game, ultimately in a 40-point game, more often than not, the better team makes it a game or comes through.
Well, I don't disagree. We're saying the same thing in different ways. We're not that good of a team. Yeah. I mean, it's like, how are you going to, but I guess I think more of that is mental than physical.
Oh yeah. Well, look, Bobby Knight would agree with you. And you may be right. You may be absolutely right. I guess I would say this. That's part of not being that talented. Like,
okay, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mental talent is a talent.
Yes. So I've heard.
Funny. I was listening to this. There was some little controversy on the NBA coverage with the Shaq and Charles and Ernie Kenny show where they interviewed Karl Anthony Towns after the game.
Okay.
Did you see this?
No.
And Shaq basically, I don't know who they played, but Karl Anthony Towns didn't play well in the first quarter or first half, and Shaq called him out, and then he played great in the second half, and they won, and they were interviewing him. And Shaq said, look, I called you out. I said you were playing soft, and you responded. You played great in the second half. But for this team to be really good, you have to play better. Like, you have to be great. And Karl Anthony Towns was like, yeah, but if we win, I don't care. Like, I'm not looking for the credit. They were kind of talking past each other. And then it became an argument between Charles and Shaq.
Great.
Where Shaq was like, he's got to be great all the time. He's got to be that killer. He's got to choose to do that. And Chuck is just like, that's not who he is.
Yeah.
Like that is just not who he is, Shaq. And you're built different than him. We're all built different. And Shaq was like, Well, Scott Skiles had a killer mentality, and he wasn't a big guy, didn't have a ton of talent. And Charles was like, yeah, but that's why he was in the NBA, because he had a killer instinct.
What a deep cut to go with the Plymouth, Indiana boy.
I know.
35 years later.
But they were having this whole conversation about, like, some guys are just built different. And that's how I feel like also, like, you can have physical talent, but if you don't have the mental makeup, the drive, the killer instinct, it's going to prevent you from getting to what your potential could be. And it's rare to find the guys that have the physical and the mental drive and the toughness and the discipline.
This is where SIG has made it tough, not just on other college football coaches, but on all other coaches, especially the guy across the parking lot, because nobody thought SIG had the most physical talent, but nobody could walk away from this championship season thinking that when it came to mental toughness, determination, togetherness, all those intangibles, I guess, because they're in your brain and not displayed in your muscles or your bone structure, is why that our football team is truly great and historic. They were just able to be one, more fundamentally sound. But even in such a short period of time, yes, this was year 2 for SIG, but at the end of the day, he cobbled together a team very quickly, a much bigger team.
Yeah, year 1 was pretty good too.
It really was. It was not bad. Even better in hindsight.
He's only lost in his Indiana career to 2 teams that played for the national championship.
And he lost to them on their home fields.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, this goes back to the argument that you and I disagreed on, where I said SIG makes it harder for Darren, and you thought it made it easier.
I think it's still a very good question, because I just brought up a way it makes it harder, but also the fact that I'm not more angry right now about what's going on with basketball is because of SIG.
Yeah, look, we are, I think, a decent basketball team. That's what I think we are.
Decent. Now, I'm sticking with middling. Because I think that
but middling in the Big Ten is different than middling in college basketball, right?
Well, if we want to compare ourselves to Furman, okay, we're pretty good.
I'm going to compare ourselves to all Power 4 schools.
Well, I mean, how many Power 4 schools are there?
65, 68, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and we're 41 in Ken Palm. We're literally in the middle. We're
not all of those schools are Power 5, Power 4, but most of them are.
We're middling, man. It's just who we
I
are
think that,
right now. Yeah. It's who we've been for a long time. The question is, with this coach, can we get out of the middle and climb back towards the top?
Right. But I want to go there in a second, but let's stay here. It is about making the tournament for us to have, call it whatever you want, solid, decent, successful, good. It all starts and ends with making the tournament. Like, none of those words apply if we don't make the tournament. Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
And there's 4 games left in the regular season. Minnesota and Northwestern at home are 2 of those. Those are wins. We're going to win those games. I truly believe it. And you believe we're going to win those games too.
I do. Yes, I do.
Then it's Michigan State at home, who has a really good record in the Big Ten, but they've stumbled on the road. They don't have a lot of offensive firepower. They lost one of their best 3-point shooters, which is a team that is limited in 3-point shooting. Jeremy Fears is a really good player who runs the team, and he killed us when we played them at Michigan State. But that's a winnable game for us. That is a winnable game. And if we win that game, we are in the NCAA tournament. I don't care what happens the rest of the time. It would guarantee an 11-9 season in the Big Ten. We're going to make the tournament.
Yep.
The other game is if we lose that game, then it's about Ohio State last regular season game on the road. Ohio State, as of today, now they are playing Michigan State today on the road. But as of today, near the end of February, they do not have a quad 1 win. And they are right where we are in metrics and net. So that game, if we lose to Michigan State and lose to Ohio State on the road, it's going to be a sweaty Sunday. It's going to be a sweaty selection Sunday. It is, because it's going to be 10-10 in conference with no, outside of Purdue at home, no great wins. No great wins. Not in the non-conference and not in the conference. And that would also, if we lose both those games, that puts us at 4-12 in quad 1 and quad 2 games. That is atrocious. And it would put us 2-12 2-12 in quad one games.
And
atrocious.
And that's 10-10 in conference in a year where the top of the Big Ten's pretty good, but that top level is pretty small.
I agree. So I still think we're going to make the tournament. I think that these two games, I don't think Ohio State is very good. I know that they beat Wisconsin. They beat the tar out of them, I believe, at home. But I don't think they're that good.
3-1 seems most likely. If it's better than that, then I'll be wildly optimistic. Too much so going into
we'll be
12-8
in the conference, which would be a really solid first season for Darren, and we'd be probably an 8 or a 9 seed in the tournament if we win those. If we win 4 games in a row, we'll probably get an 8 or 9 seed.
And as we've talked about, being a capable 3-point shooting team, we haven't shown it much on the road, but neutral site might be slightly different. And if we do get into the tournament, like we've seen from much smaller schools with much less talent, let's say, you get hot shooting the 3 and upsets can happen at every level. And that's when you're like a 14 or 15 or 16 seed. At an 8 or 9 seed, we really would have a chance to win a game or two if we find our stroke. And look, even the way Tucker came out against Purdue, hitting a few, if Dorn wakes back up and becomes good Nick instead of bad Nick, we could easily win a game or even 2 in the tournament if we find our shot from deep. But I think again, that would we would see what that is. Oh, we got hot. It's not because this team was built in a way and structured in a way and came together in a way at the end of the season. Like it all started clicking and we were playing our best basketball in March. I think we had our fun little run there where we won 5 of 6, but again, it was against not very good teams. So let's see how these last 4 go. If it's 3-1, we win a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament, we win a game or 2 in the real tournament. I think we're all going into the offseason being like, cool, what?
Well, yeah, if we win a game or 2 in the NCAA tournament, we're in the Sweet 16. Yeah, we'd all be circle jerking.
Well, I think that's a really gross thing to put into the mind of our listeners.
It is. I didn't know where to go with it,
Yeah.
But we would be ecstatic if we made the Sweet 16.
Right. I think there would be a certain amount of, okay, wait, did we just kind of get lucky? Was it the matchups? Did we get hot? Or was this something that was really coming together over the course of the season? Right? Because that narrative, it has swung already like 3 times.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
We
it's
lost
bullshit.
like 3 or 4 of 5 and we were all down in the dumps. Then we won 5 of 6 and then we were on the upswing. Now we've lost 2 in a row and we're all back kind of depressed again. What's these last 4 going to, we don't know. We're just, and
that's
and
true.
We'll really only be able to assess what kind of season this was when it's over.
Yes, that's true. But I disagree with what Tom Crean said when he kept saying like, we're getting better. Like Indiana's getting better. I don't know that we are. I really don't.
Because he hadn't seen the Purdue and Illinois game yet.
Yeah, right. But that's kind of my point. Like, I think he even got fooled a little bit by our record against bad teams. But I look at the Kentucky and Louisville games that we played before the turn of the year, and both games were such great microcosms for what this year has been. Kentucky, we were winning. We were in that game. And then in the second half, we fell apart. Now, that was on the road, in a difficult environment in Rupp. But we were in that game till midway through the second half?
Yeah.
And then lost it. And Louisville, they came out and blitzed us on a neutral court when they were, a top 10 team or whatever they were ranked. And then we chipped away at it. And we had a couple chances to get back into that game as the second half wore on. And maybe they were playing with their food a little bit, if you will. But both games were kind of microcosms. We're not good enough to be consistent enough to win consistently.
Well, and that's a great point. Consistency within a game, within a season.
Yes.
That is a huge part of being a good team, not a middling team.
100%. Now, looking ahead, the thing that concerns me the most is next year because we don't have a star coming back. We don't. We don't have a guy that is going to go out and get you more than 10 points a game. Who? I mean, you cannot tell me that's Dorn. You can't rely on Dorn to give you that.
No, it's clearly a portal situation.
Right, but it's a portal situation for, again, all the impact players, basically. Now, granted, hopefully Dorn becomes that, consistent, but he's not that this year. So we know this year, Sam Alexis has had moments, and he started to play better for sure than he did in the beginning of the year. He's had stubbed his toe a little bit in the last couple games. But we don't have a center. So we have to go out and get a center. We don't have a point guard. So we have to go out and get a point guard. We don't have a stud shooting guard like to replace Lamar Wilkerson. So we have to go out and get that. We don't have a stretch four. Could Sisley be it? The way that this season has gone, it's hard to say he could be that next year. It's hard to say that. So, like, we've got to rebuild all the impact players. Now, yes, we have Carvalho coming in and Prince Moody coming in and Trevor Manhurt's coming in. But nobody expects those guys to be impact players. And when you kind of look at where Trent was ranked, it's basically where Carvalho, Moody, and Manhurts are ranked. And
those are the kind of dudes you want to have. So when they're juniors and seniors, they're probably in your starting lineup and really strong contributors. And then when you're bringing in stud freshmen or portal players to drop in, those guys tell them what to do and where to go and what to be. But that ain't next year.
No, and we have basically a starting lineup to rebuild for next year in the portal again.
Yikes.
And we have no idea about Josh Harris and Drake. Like, are they even going to come back? Do they want to come back? Are they any good at all? We have no clue. And Josh Harris, let's remember, Josh Harris was the secondary player that came to us from Florida with Josiah Miles.
And speaking of Josiah Miles, I would love to know what we're seeing in practice, because now we saw him like handle the ball a little bit, and he took a corner three, which it didn't go in, but it didn't look bad. And I'm like, clearly he must be taking over elements of some scrimmages in practice for the amount of run he's getting. And it's interesting to see that. I think in Darren's mind, there must be something absolutely crucial they need from Miles to maximize this season. He's not trying to get him developed for next year. And so that's sort of tantalizing. Can that be brought out even in time for this year's tournaments? Much less, is he going to be a real main piece going into next year? We just haven't seen it yet, despite the amount of minutes he's getting.
I think it's pretty simple, though, what he brings. Size and athleticism.
Yeah.
Right? But he's got quickness. He's got good size. He's got length. The stuff, when they brought him and Tatum Connerway in the game, I at least thought we were defending Purdue a little bit better than when we had
Enright
in, and I can't remember who Miles came in for. Maybe he came in for Tucker. I don't remember. Maybe he came in for Tucker. I don't remember really. But yeah, there's so many question marks. I mean, there's just so many. We have not seen enough. And look, here's the other thing we're not considering. We're talking about getting the players in.
Mm-hmm. Who might leave? Does Josiah Miles think, I'm not going to play 30 minutes a game here, so I got to go play somewhere where I can play 30 minutes a game? We don't know. Do Drake and Harris think like that was a wasted year and I just got to have a fresh start somewhere else? Now, it's difficult for guys that didn't play at all to transfer, because who's going to give you more? Right.
Where are you going to get somebody to trust you more than the guy who saw you at least in practice? Because Harris and Drake, I think, are practicing a little bit. So at least, or they're working out. So at least the coaching staff sees that. They also know their work ethic. They know their attitude. They know what kind of teammates they are in the locker room. So if Darren wants those guys, that gives him a leg up on somebody who doesn't know that stuff. So it's just a ton of question marks going into next year. And Lamar Wilkerson has basically single-handedly kept this team afloat, and he's gone.
And he will also single-handedly give Darren and the rest of the staff incredible tape to show other scorers and other shooters who are thinking about coming to IU. Because we talked about with Woody and with Archie, like how can you possibly cut together enough tape to show a scorer, a shooter, why they would want to come to Bloomington? Well, Darren certainly has plenty of that to be like, look at the stuff we ran. Look at the open looks. They're getting open looks for Dorn and for some of the other players who have not been able to execute and put the ball down the way Lamar has. But I do think there's a system in place and enough proof in the pudding to get another guy like Lamar in, who's like, whoa, they got that guy 40 twice. Okay. And you're going to pay me how much? All right, Indiana, let's sit down and have a real conversation. But for those of us who as much fun as it's been to watch Lamar, we would trade a couple 40-point games for 3 or 4 more victories and a rest easy selection Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. So a lot of question marks, but the focus is still on making the tournament this year. Win 3 of the 4, you're in. Win 4 of the 4, you're looking at safely in. And win 2 of the 4, and it's a sweaty selection Sunday.
What did you think when they threw that stat up during the Purdue game that Darren has the 13th highest winning percentage of any basketball coach in the country with 100 or more wins, or 100 or more games, excuse me?
It's good for him. I didn't think much of it.
Because it's Drake. I think it's really hard to be like, look what Sig did at smaller schools.
Yeah.
Look at what McCollum did at Drake. It's not like that can't translate, but it doesn't necessarily automatically translate. Because I think we'd all be very happy if Darren left many years from now, his time as the Indiana coach with an over 700 percentage winning mark. But it's we got a long way to go before we feel like he can do it in Bloomington.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another year where we've got more than 10 losses, and it's another year where we're not going to win more than 12 games in the Big Ten. And I think I sent this to you. In the last 30 years of Indiana basketball, we have won more than 12 games. Was it more than 12 or more than 11? I think it's more than 11. We have that's what it is. In the last 30 years, we have won more than 11 games in the Big Ten 4 times.
That almost feels like a football statistic.
I know.
Like an old school IU football statistic of like, this is how not good we've been for decades.
Yeah, it's and just to put it in context, I couldn't sleep one night, and so I just was going deep on the stats. So 4 times more than 11 wins in 30 years.
Ugh.
Michigan State in those 30 years, 19.
Mm-hmm.
Purdue, 17. Wisconsin, 16.
Ugh.
Illinois, 11. Ohio State, 11. Michigan, 8. Maryland, 6. And they've only been in the conference 12 years. Iowa, 5. Indiana, 4. Nebraska, 3, and they've only been in the conference 16 of those 30 years. So we are Nebraska. Over the last 30 years, as far as how many games we win in the conference, we're basically the same level of success as Nebraska and Iowa. And that sucks. And this year, we still have a chance to win more than 11. If we win all 4, we're 12-8, which would be the 5th time. So that would be great.
Well, and that's a great benchmark that you just laid out. If we do reach that point, whatever the ups and downs of the season is and how depressed we've gotten in the second half of some of these games, you can point to that and be like, well, this is objectively one of the 5 best Big Ten seasons we've had in the last 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's awful. It's only once in the last decade. Woody's second year with Trace and Jalen, 2 NBA players, we won 12 games. But it's only happened one time since Crean's 2015-16 Big Ten championship. One time in a decade, 4 times in 30 years. That's where we are. So, and I do believe you kind of have to win more than 11 to even 11-9 is the same as 9-11. You know what I mean? Like it's so middling to your point.
Yes.
But past 12-8, like then you're like, okay, all right, you won the majority of your games in the Big Ten.
We're in the upper middling.
Yeah, let's move to the
instead of from the middle middling.
When you say middling, all I think of is Game of Thrones wildlings.
That's
the wildlings in the north.
That's they're not in the Middle Kingdom. I would think the people in the Middle Kingdom. Is that Lord of the Rings or is that Game of Thrones?
Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember the wildlings north of the wall?
Of course.
Yeah. All right. Well, this petered out.
Look, we've got 4 games to get everybody feeling really good about the beginning of this era. Let's win 3 of them, feel good about Selection Sunday, and just overall hold our heads high going into what is going to be a crucial portal season for this staff. We really, to your point, like in terms of the level of patience and whatever our debate was before about if it's good or bad for Coach DeVries with what Coach Signetti did, the team he puts on the floor next year is largely going to determine his long-term future. And I think he needs all the firepower he can get, not just the checkbook going into this offseason. And I think part of that too is just how good are Indiana basketball fans feeling? What's the vibe around Bloomington after this season? And we're volatile beings. So I think if he wins 3 of these next 4, everybody's just going to be super, super happy with how this season went.
Semantics again. Super, super happy.
Okay,
with
you're
3?
right. You're not super, super happy.
They'll be relieved. I think they'll be relieved. Like we're
Relieved.
in the tournament. Relieved. We're in the tournament. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. I'm good.
Because what the football team has done, it's injected us all with this huge amount of pride. It's really squashed decades of insecurity that have come from middling basketball and awful football. And now we just all feel so good about ourselves. Our self-esteem is at I don't know if it's an all-time high, but it's certainly at the highest high it's been since 1987.
Yeah, I agree with that. And missing the tournament would be a huge blow to that.
It would definitely take a little bit of the shine off. We would really have to keep turning back to football to cope with it in the way we saw a lot after the Purdue game. How many memes and text messages there were talking about football after that last Purdue game, which that's great. I love that that national championship was only a month ago. It wasn't back in 1987. It's
sure
you
nice.
and
I had a little bit of a disagreement on that. I understand it. I understand the turn to football. I've done it. I watched the championship game, Big Ten in 60 since the Purdue loss.
Yeah,
I did it, but I don't like saying it. I don't like people putting it out there like, oh yeah, we lost to you, Purdue, by 29, but remember when we beat you by 50 in football? I don't like it. I think it's
Oh, I love it. It's great. I mean, that's That's what I mean. This is why we do this, is because it's been so hard. It's been so hard as an Indiana fan to go up against a Purdue fan for a long, long time, because they have just not dominated us one-on-one versus each other in basketball. And that's helped a little bit for sure. But ultimately, there's no comparison between their basketball program and our basketball program over the last 20 years, or really their football program and our football program ever. They've certainly had some terrible stretches and been really bad. And it's awesome that that's going on to them right now. But the fact that we just won an undefeated national championship in football and beat them in 2 consecutive seasons, 122-3, and we beat them in basketball like 3 weeks ago, and then we just lost to them at home. Of course they were going to win that game. And of course, everybody in Mackey Arena was out for fucking blood, because we have just absolutely humiliated them lately. And it's wonderful and it's great. And I'm not going to let one loss at Mackey have me stop talking about that or putting that out there. This is what we live for.
All of that I agree with. I just don't like the element of it that it kind of excuses the basketball loss. That's what it feels like to me.
And that's where I disagree. I think it ignores the basketball loss.
I don't like that either, because ignoring it makes it like, we don't really care. Like, it's okay. I do care. I care deeply. We can't be getting beat by 29 points against Purdue. We can't continue to have a middling basketball program. We can't. And I do completely wonder if the people that hired Kurt Signetti and have seen what that did for Indiana's fan base, alumni base, in applications, PR, what it did in 2 years. And granted, I know football's much bigger, but guess what? Danny Hurley at UConn, I guarantee you, has helped UConn basketball. When Brad Stevens was at Butler, it helped Butler basketball. Did I say something wrong?
Well, you just said what these 2 like legendary coaches, that they helped their basketball program that they were coaching. Well, like, yeah,
that's not help their basketball program, help the school.
Yeah, but you said basketball. You didn't say the school.
What basketball did to help those schools. Basketball at Indiana can still help Indiana also.
Marginally.
And we shouldn't forget that.
Yeah, marginally though.
I don't know if it's marginal. I don't know that. I'm not going to accept that yet. I don't know that.
Well, but you always make the point how much bigger in every sense of the word football is as a sport in this country
No
compared to
argument.
basketball.
No
So that's
argument.
why, just by the numbers with basketball, it's marginal. Now, in the great state of Indiana, where we still love our basketball so much, of course, and we were going back and forth about this, and you reminded me that Florida did win both in the same year.
Yeah.
I had forgot that was in the same year. So it happened.
And Ohio State lost to them in the championship game in both in that year.
That's so great that happened to Ohio State. Couldn't happen to a nicer school, nicer programs. So it is not unprecedented, but it's exceedingly rare to be absolutely at the top of your game in both. But you would think that the resources, the hype, the excitement, the allure of being a part of what's going on in Bloomington right now, that should help Darren and the staff when they're going out on the recruiting trail too, and be like, look at this, look at what this fan base does for football. Historically terrible. Imagine when we bring basketball back and we've got this whole campus rocking, and we are the preeminent athletic department in all of America because we got football or basketball back into the top 10.
Yeah, I look, and there have been a handful of schools, not that we're number one, but look, Alabama was Saban, and when they brought in Nate Oates, they had it working, and they're still a good football team.
Yep.
Ohio State, Florida's done it. Michigan has done it. Oregon has done it. Like, it happens. I think Texas is going to be there with having Sean Miller there in basketball, and they're obviously a really good football program. So we can be that, and we should be that. We should be that. We have the resources.
We do.
And I will say, Ward, there are still more basketball fans. Just basketball fans. There are still more basketball fans of Indiana University. Indiana University alumni base, die-hard basketball fans than football fans. There are. I still believe that.
Well, I mean, that's to be debated. What's die-hard? What does that mean? I think it is interesting.
I think that if Indiana basketball was a top 5 program, there would be money coming into Indiana that doesn't come in even with football success. And I don't think that's marginal. I think it's significant. It's not as much as football, because football, I'm not talking
it requires
about,
more. And there is,
and I'm also not talking about the money that football brings in is like TV revenue and that, like, ticket revenue, because it's 50,000. I get. You're
talking about old rich people who want to see basketball.
Donations.
Yeah. It will be interesting. And who knows how much of it we'll really see, how much it will be publicly known. But when you have somebody like Scott Dolson, who is just dyed in the wool, cream and crimson basketball man, from being the manager and all through his time as a lifelong Hoosier, clearly he loves basketball and Indiana basketball and understands it and respects it and was a part of it much more than 99.99% of Indiana alums and fans. But he also sees all the numbers, and he also knows what's being required to keep football rolling in the way it is, and how are those resources going to be diverted over to Memorial Stadium as opposed to Assembly Hall. It'll be interesting to see. Regardless, I think there's going to be enough for both to field very competitive teams, and there's absolutely zero reason we shouldn't have a top 25 basketball program. That's, like, to me, that is the absolute lowest bar you should have for your program, being like, we are consistently ranked. We are usually ranked. We're usually ranked in the top 25. We're always getting in the tournament. We're in the upper third of the Big Ten pretty much every year. And if those benchmarks aren't being hit going out of year 2, what does year 3 look like? Then you have to start reevaluating, because there's zero reason you shouldn't have that kind of basketball team.
I totally agree. And I just want to make 2 more points. I don't want anybody thinking that I think basketball for a college is more important than football. It isn't. Financially, it is not. Football dwarfs it. I get it. Indiana is a special case where basketball is meaningful to a lot of people in a way that it isn't in other schools. And 2, that was the point I was making with Scott and Pam. They see what turning around football did, and they see how quickly the right coach was able to. How much patience, because of Signetti, do they have now for the other sport that they are pouring tens of millions of dollars into?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm wondering, does SIG change their patience threshold?
Going back to our debate, does he make the job easier
Right.
or harder for
And
the
really,
guy?
the truth is, all that matters is, does it make it? All that matters is Pam and Scott. That's really all that matters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do they look at SIG and say, thank God we now have this, nothing else matters. We can be more patient with everything else because we have this cash cow? Or do they go, wait a minute, this guy did this with football? What in the world are you doing with basketball?
Yeah.
Don't know. Scott, what's the answer? All right. What do you say we celebrate the greatest time in the history of Indiana basketball now?
I think that's a great idea.
Here comes our guest. Here comes our guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have two gentlemen back on the show, but they are not just any gentlemen. They're Hoosiers, and they are Hoosier legends. Eric, please tell the people at home who has been so kind as to rejoin us today.
We are talking to 40% of the starting lineup from the greatest college basketball team of all time. Let's start with the center. We are talking to a gentleman who is a two-time consensus first-team All-American, third-team Parade All-American in 1973. He ended his Indiana career with a 59-9 Big Ten record, 3 Big Ten titles, a Final Four, an Elite Eight, and of course, a national championship as he manned the center position for the last undefeated team in college basketball. He was the first overall pick in the NBA draft, where he had an illustrious 11-year NBA career. He was also the NCAA Final Four most outstanding player in that amazing undefeated season. And on the perimeter of that team, maybe the greatest defensive player that's ever existed at Indiana University, and possibly the greatest athlete who's ever worn the Indiana basketball jersey. We are talking to a gentleman who actually has the center beat in his overall Big Ten record, because he ended his Big Ten record at Indiana with a 48-2 record at Indiana. 3 Big Ten titles as well. He stuffed the stat sheet with games of 19 rebounds, 14 assists, 13 assists. He has the 5th best season all time at IU in assists, a jack of all trades. We are talking to a national champion as well. We're talking to a first-round pick in the NBA, the 11th pick overall, who had 7 years in the NBA. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor to bring both back to the podcast to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that undefeated season. We are talking to the one and only Kent Benson and Bobby Wilkerson.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you. This is a tremendous honor and a blessing for me to be here, and my one of my best friends in life, and have been for over 60 years. Bobby and I have been great friends, and also business partners and what have you. And we are just so excited and blessed to have this opportunity to be a part of your podcast. We appreciate you and your tremendous support over the years of our illustrious career. And to God be the glory and praise and the honor for that, because we've been so blessed with the talent and the ability and the opportunity to play at Indiana University for the legendary Coach Bob Knight, and with such great players as Quinn Buckner, Scott May, Jim Cruz, Tom Abernathy, and of course our entire team has been such a blessing and an honor to be a part of. And thank you for allowing us this opportunity to join you here this afternoon.
The honor is all ours, and the thanks goes to you. Bobby, how are you? It's been 50 years. Does it feel like it's been 50 years?
No, I thank God that I'm still here, so it's great. Every day above ground is a great day, so I celebrate every day. And thank God for the opportunity that you guys are having us back on, and I'm just blessed to be able to play. I played the college ball with Kent Benson and Quinn Buckner and Scott May, some of the greatest talents that Indiana's ever had, and I'm just so thankful and blessed by that.
The celebration on a particular day a couple weeks ago was extra special. It was the 50-year anniversary celebration at Assembly Hall, where you all got back together and were honored during a game for your unbelievable accomplishment. Still the last team in college basketball history to go undefeated. Could you both just take us through what that day, what that ceremony, what that moment was like, being all back together at Assembly Hall in front of that crowd? Bobby, let's start with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. First of all, it's such a blessing. I had, it was just so amazing. My niece, who was born in 1976, my favorite niece, I got to say that because she ought to let people know, Sherry Wilkerson Dozier, she's my favorite niece. She was with me, and her first time in Assembly Hall with her son, my namesake, Quincy Robert. So it was just a great blessing the whole time. The fans were unbelievable. Whether it's at the hotel, whether it's in the gym, during the game, after the game, pictures, and the teammates were all there. It was just a joyous occasion that, we're still here and we still respect each other, what they have accomplished with us, because we couldn't do it without each other. And that's the main thing. And I thank God for my teammates because they make such a difference. They made my job a lot easier, especially Kent in the middle. And, he's probably the greatest center that ever played at IU because he accomplished that. He worked for Knight. And I was so glad when Kent came to Bloomington because Knight stopped hollering at me, started hollering at Kent. So that worked for me. And then I had to work with Kent and say, okay, I knew what he wanted, and so I could always help Kent and just bring him along because, we all have our day with Coach Knight. Some have two. And I think I had more than two, but it was good because he taught me a lot. And my teammates, we worked hard. Nobody worked harder than our team in 76 and our second team.
And Kent?
Well, what can I say? I mean, Bobby said it all there. And the thing that I'd like to add is the fact that, besides ditto what Bobby said, was that, I've been blessed to God and highly favored to have this opportunity to, over the last 50 years, to reminisce of the great time with these great players, and not only great players, but great individuals, great men. And so thankful for that opportunity. But, so thankful too to the Hoosier Nation. Indiana University has the largest alumni association in the entire country. And that's just, over 800,000 alums that are from Indiana University. But then you count all the people who are not Indiana University graduates, but are fans of Indiana basketball and fans of ours. We've been tremendously blessed over these 50 years. And I had an opportunity to share in our press conference that, over the last 50 years, it's been like it happened just yesterday, because there isn't a day that doesn't go by that people don't ask. I mean, people ask me all the time, what was it like to win a national championship? What was it like to go undefeated? What was it like to play for Coach Knight? What was it like to play with Bobby Wilkerson, Scott May, Tom Abernathy, Quinn Buckner, Jim Cruz? What was it like to have the opportunity to go undefeated and play against great teams like Michigan and the Big Ten, and go 2 years consecutively undefeated in the Big Ten with 36 wins, which is unprecedented as well. So I got an opportunity, and I know Bobby has too, and every one of us to relive this day after day after day, and it's like it just happened yesterday, even though it's been 50 years.
I love that. I actually wanted to follow up on that. Do either of you remember like the strangest or most obscure or remote place where somebody did come up to you and say, hey, I remember 76, or wanting to get an autograph or take a picture? Has there been like one story that kind of sticks out that you couldn't believe that somebody was coming up to you at that point?
Yeah, I have one. I have, just so you know, I come from a big family, and I have 102 great nephews and nieces.
Wow.
That's great. We ain't counting the nephews and nieces and the great nephews and nieces. We counting just the great greats.
Okay.
And so I ain't met them all yet, but I'm working on it. But I met 3 of them one day. I was coming out the barbershop, and I met 3 of them, and I went to get my hair cut, Kent. I was getting my beard trimmed, and they came up and said, Uncle Bobby, Uncle Bobby, Uncle Bobby. I didn't know who they were. And then until their mom got out of the car, oh, that's Paris's 3 kids. They like, Uncle, like, I said, okay. So I just hugged on them and said, okay. And We want your autograph. We know you. And they knew all about IU, and none of them was over like 8 years old. And so it was just amazing. It was love, and I love that because it just passed down through generations in our family. Now that we've been honored, and all the family is excited about what we've accomplished, and and seeing those pictures and coming to the documentary and coming to the gym, they're just so blown away. Back then, and here 50 years later, we're celebrating. I think it's so, and I thank God for my mom and dad and my brothers and sisters who have passed, because they got a chance to see me. They got a chance to be part of it during that time. And I'm so thankful, that they were with me all that time in our family, because my family was the greatest. We might be big. We can fill Assembly Hall now. They say what they want. we can fill it. But it was a blessing for my family. And now they're learning more and more about me, because most of them weren't even born that time when I was playing.
I love that. Kent, any stories stick out of somebody recognizing you?
Well, I have to say that the story that Bobby just told is absolutely the truth. I've heard it so many times that I know it's not a made-up lie or anything like that. He does have a family that large, and tremendous supporters of Bobby, and Bobby's tremendous character, and being a man of God. He is highly recognized, and has a tremendous influence and inspiration and impact on the young people as well. So I would have to say, from my perspective, several years ago, I took a group of coaches with me to Algeria in Africa. And we were over there for about 10 days teaching the Algerians how to play American basketball, specifically Indiana basketball. And was so surprised at the players, the coaches that came up to me and asked me these same similar questions that I just told you about, because it blew me away. I mean, here we are, a whole, international continents away, and they knew about our team, and knew about myself, and asked me specific questions. And I was kind of blown away by that, and definitely honored to have a situation where they knew basketball, and they knew specifically about our team and the success of our team and the great players that we had on our team. So I would have to say that was probably my greatest account.
That's great.
So there's the legendary coach Bob Knight, the legendary players who all won this last magical undefeated season. And a lot of people know a lot of things about it, because we've been talking about it and celebrating it for 50 years. I wonder, from both of you, what do you think people don't appreciate to the degree they should, or they just don't know about that team and what made it so special, that you'd like to shine a little bit more light on 50 years later? Kent, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, I'd have to say, what we experienced in practice with the intensity of Coach Knight. Of course, he was very intense and very bombastic, very demanding. He didn't demand perfection; he demanded excellence. And when you talk about excellence, you talk about being excellence is being the very best that you can be in everything that you do, in every way that you do it, no matter what it is that you do. And Coach Knight always knew our potential, each and every one of us individually, and how we would mold individually into a successful basketball team. And he was willing to do whatever he had to do to push us to play to our potential, because he knew more about our potential than we knew about ourselves and our potential. And with that, I would have to say that the time, energy, effort, the strict regimen that we were on prepared me for the game of life. That was a game of basketball, but through that, Coach Knight helped prepare us for the game of life. And what people don't know and understand is that, they're in Assembly Hall, it absolutely is deafening. And Eric, you've been there, you know what it's like. The fans that are there know what it's like. It's absolutely deafening. And when we're playing the game, we can hear Coach Knight as if he's the only person that's talking, in spite of all that noise and the excitement of the fans and everything, because we were programmed to listen to his commands and his direction and what have you. And so, you know, it was no doubt that he put us in situations where our practices were so hard that when it came to game time, and I'm not going to say it was a piece of cake, but it was kind of like a piece of cake. We were looking forward to playing a game as opposed to practicing, because of the practices being so hard. And one of the questions that people asked was, who was the toughest team you ever had to play against? Well, you know, we played against a lot of tough teams, especially in the championship game against Michigan. We had to play them 3 times and had to beat them 3 times. But and you know, we started our season out playing against UCLA, the national champions, and the world champion Russians, and those are the first two games of our season that set the tone for our season and the intensity of our season and what our projected vision was, and our dream and the things that we wanted to accomplish was a national championship and going undefeated. But people don't know and understand and realize that the toughest team that we ever had to play against was our second team. And our second team made us so much better because they knew our plays offensively. They knew our defense. They beat us up. They bloodied our noses. They made it tougher on us. And had it not been for them and their willingness to sacrifice and practice at that level with that intensity to make us better, I don't know how much success we would have had it not been for them. So, in my humble but most accurate opinion, our second team was by far the toughest team that we ever had to play against.
Just quick follow-up. Kent, who guarded you? Who guarded you in practice?
Well, different people. Jim Roberson, Scott Eels. I mean, those guys, and you got to understand something. In practice, we didn't have any officials, so no blood, no foul. And if there was
even with blood, no foul.
And if there was blood, well, so be it. Just, you know, pick up your jock and play the next play. You know, he just moved on. That was just part of it. That was our focus.
Bobby, I got to ask you, though, in practice, I can just imagine. Look, I played in high school, and because of how good I was always on the second team, sometimes the third team. And I remember when I would have the assignment of guarding the really good player on the first team, it would just frustrate the hell out of me because I knew I was going to get killed. I cannot imagine who's trying to bring the ball up against Bobby Wilkerson in practice, and how much did they hate you in practice?
Oh, they really hated me. But I had to figure it out, because I knew coming in, you know, when you're a new kid on the block, it don't matter what they say about you and how you got there. They knew Knight's system, and I did not know it. I was very athletic, and Knight stayed on me because he tell us get down in the stands. I could stand straight up and shoot the gap without bending over, and he would say a few words, and then he would get on me and he'll sit me down, and I had to figure out how to get in the lineup and stay in the lineup. That was my main goal. So what I did, my brother, who is deceased now, his name is William Wilkerson, one game, and it's my first year there, and I said, wow, because I redshirted my first year,
right.
Prop 48, me and Scott May. And so when I got it seemed like every time I do something, he would take me out the game. He would just take me out. And I was so frustrated. So after the game, my brother stopped me down. He said, hey, stop frowning up and stop going to the end of the bench. He said, that's your problem. He said, you're not even cheering your teammates on. He said, what you do is don't show no expression. Just go work your butt off. And he said, you know what you can do. Just do it. And I said, okay. So I tried it. I didn't show no expression. I worked. And I said, what I'm going to do is memorize every play, every option off every play at every position. And I did that. And once I did that, I had fun, because I could play every position. I knew how to defend. I knew what our players, how Kent liked the ball, get the ball to Scott. the best shooter we ever had, get it to Quinn. He's the coach. He's the player coach on the floor. But I never got tired. And so and I knew I had to do that to stay on the court. I didn't break in the lineup till my first year at the CCA tournament we went to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I broke into the lineup then, and we won it. And after that, I didn't look back, because then I started running 40 miles a day in the summer. I ran and I ran. I said, ain't nobody, I'll never come out the game. And I'll never go over to Coach Knight and talk to him, because I didn't do that. I staggered. If he wanted to talk to me, he better call timeout. Because Quinn was over there all the time, but I wasn't. Mm-hmm. But I love the fact that my conditioning, and then knowing, and that's how I knew, I never had a grade problem, but I knew I was smart, because if I can memorize all those option-offs every play, because the game changed so quickly, I could be playing guard, next you know, I'm guarding Kent's man. You take Kent out, give Kent a blow, and now I'm playing center. Mm. And it really worked to our advantage, because once I get the rebound, I don't know who the center ain't going to come down there and pick me up. So we had so many advantages with me playing different positions and bringing the ball up, because they didn't know who to guard.
Right.
They had no idea. And so that really helped me, and it helped our team, because at that point, Coach Knight really started trusting me and knowing that I can do it all, any position. Just what do you need to do? And he would never like get on me, but what he would do was pull me to the side and practice. Okay. And so in practice, I had to memorize the whole second team. I watched film after film after film. I knew them better than they knew themselves, because I know if I'm called on to go from guard or playing forward or center, I knew who I was playing and how I take advantage of them. And that was the biggest adjustment for me. And once Knight saw that, he let me go. He just said, okay. And he never got on me. I mean, he didn't get on Kent much that year either, but he didn't say anything to me, because he knew I knew how to adjust, and I would never get tired.
It's college basketball goes in waves. There's different eras of college basketball. And, for a while we had the guys leaving to go pro as high school students. Then they got rid of that and went to the one and done. And now we're in the NIL era, and it all changes. But what we are seeing this year, I'm not sure if you guys have seen these articles, but college basketball ratings are way up this year. There's a lot of good teams at the top, and ratings by some accounts are up 30 to 40%. And I just can't help but think how wonderful it is that the ratings are up this year, which happens to be the 50th anniversary. March Madness is around the corner. And my understanding is the 76 team has been invited to be on hand for the Final Four this year, which is going to be one of the biggest Final Fours that has happened in college basketball in a long time. And a spotlight gets to shine on you guys 50 years later at the Final Four in the championship game. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going to happen there? And are you guys going? What are you excited about that? Just tell us a little bit about what that is all about.
Well, first of all, it's definitely a tremendous honor and a blessing that we would be invited. Very appropriate, of course. Our country celebrating 250 years of our country being in existence, and for us to celebrate 50 years of our undefeated season, that's a tremendous, not a coincidence, but in my opinion, a divine appointment for us as the 76 team. And this weekend, the Final Four National Championship in Indianapolis, Indiana, by the way.
Yes.
Of all places, the timing of all this, the 250th anniversary, our 50th anniversary, the fact that the Final Four is in Indianapolis, the Indiana Hoosiers football team going 6-0 after being the entire worst team, losing team in the entire country. For years and years and years to win a national championship. It's just it's really mind-boggling to think of how all this is aligned and how God has ordained that. And we're excited and honored to be a part of the Final Four recognition. We don't know all the details. We were informed that we were invited. Of course, they're making all the arrangements, and I think too it's also a surprise for us. whatever they have planned. And
nice. But the
I
plan
believe
is both of you will be there as of right now, God willing. Everybody's healthy. You'll be there.
right.
Be there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going. So, and we hope that all of our teammates will be there. We've got a couple of teammates that are deceased. Of course, Mark Hemore and Wayne Radford.
Yeah.
And, we miss them.
And of course, Coach Knight.
And of course, Coach Knight as well, and our assistant coach Harold Andres. He's deceased as well. But we're hoping that all our players. I know Jim Wisman is in the hospital right now in Italy. He had blood clots in his leg that were so severe that they had to operate, go in and surgically remove them. So he unfortunately was not able to join us on February 9th here at Indiana University in Assembly Hall at our recognition and honor there. But we're in hopes that he'll be able to come and be a part of the April 6th Final Four championship recognition.
That's great.
What a magical event that will be. Kent, you did bring it up. I'd like to hear both of your take on sitting back like the rest of Hoosier Nation and watching this truly miraculous, divine, undefeated season that the football team just pulled off as we got closer and closer to that championship game. And it seemed as it truly were a team of destiny. We all started talking more and more about it's 50 years since 76. It's 50 years since 76. What was that journey like for the both of you, not just as part of the 1976 team, the last college basketball team, the last Indiana team to go undefeated on the national stage, but then just also as Hoosier fans, to just be watching your football team, which has struggled mightily over the decades, to rise to the level that you guys reached and so few other teams have ever reached in college sports. Bobby, what was that journey like for you?
It was really good. I was, behind them and watching every game, and it was so exciting because to be able to see them go undefeated and cheer them on because it was their time, and I just thank God that we're here to see that, and then I started having flashbacks of when we played, and so I can't wait to get to the Final Four because I probably meet a lot of people and take a lot of pictures and sign a lot of autographs, people that I never knew, just remembering when. But the football team did a great job, and it really helped us because not just one, but now football and basketball, it don't get no better than that. It does not get any better than that for IU Nation. For IU fans, they got something to be proud of in Indiana that's going to last for decades, And so I just thank the people and the fans because we had the greatest fans in the world. Still to this day, 50 years later, I looked up in the bleachers. I said, wow, they cheering us on. Mm-hmm. I said, I ain't playing no more. I can only play against kids that are like 6 years old and younger because that's where I know I can win. But it was a great feeling, and I'm so supportive. I'm glad to be an alumni. Part of the IU Nation, part of history, and I love it because everywhere I'm living in Indiana right now, and Kent's here in Indiana, so everywhere I go, it just people they recognize. Sometimes they don't know me, but they're looking. Okay, did you play basketball? Or did you this and that? And so it's fun, but the football team, I'm so proud of them. I really am because they came together, guys from many different schools, and they all got together on one accord. And that sounded like us. I think the football coach might have been watching Bobby Knight years ago.
Totally. And, we've talked about that with a lot of people, the similarities. There are definite similarities there that you can't escape. I mean, they're really the attention to detail, the preparation, the discipline. Ooh. The group is better and more important than any individual. All those things and I've heard Curt Cignetti talk about the mental approach being more important than the physical approach. So I want to, if we can.
Oh, I just wanted to get Kent's point of view on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he gave it to us, but go for it.
Well, I want to say ditto to what Bobby had to say and also what you had to say, Eric. And like you said, Coach Cignetti brought up the mental and the physical. And Coach Knight's always said that the mental is 4 times greater than the physical. And, the mental is to physical is 4:1. And with that in mind, I remember just watching this football team and how they executed their offense, how they executed their defense. It reminded me so much of us and our ability to execute our offense, play our team defense, play to our potential. You know, I mean, you look at the overall makeup of the Indiana Hoosiers football team. There weren't 4 and 5 star players on there. They were players that had a huge heart. They were disciplined. They wanted to win. They needed to be in a structured program that knew and understand what it took to be a champion. And Coach Signetti was able to mold them and make them into great champions. And you know, as I sit there with pride watching, it brought back a lot of memories. And you know, Coach Signetti's preparation, of course, he knew that he couldn't always browbeat his players or physically exhaust them in practices and everything. He was very strategic in his coaching of practice, making sure that the kids stayed strong, stayed healthy, and you know, didn't beat themselves up, and prepared for the game. And they were always prepared, as you well know that Mendoza, the great Eyes Mendoza, he knew the game. He studied it. He spent hours upon hours in preparation, and there was just so many similarities to this football team and to our team back 50 years ago. And just so proud of Indiana University football and where they come. I have a cousin that played on the Rose Bowl team, and very proud of that. And
hey,
yeah.
Kent, you've got to be more specific now. You can't just say the Rose Bowl team. You have to say the first Rose Bowl team.
Oh, excuse me. Yes,
you know, it's different now.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. You know, you get this mindset after all these years. It's
That's
kind
right.
but yeah, on the first Rose Bowl team, and so proud of him and all, and to see where this program has come. And I'm honored and proud to wear Indiana University and be an ambassador for Indiana University, both basketball and football and Indiana University athletics.
One quick follow-up, Kent. We have coming in the football draft this year the first #1 overall draft pick since you. And I just wonder what advice, if you haven't got a chance to give it to Fernando, or maybe you have, but what would you give that young man coming off the heels of an undefeated national championship? And I know you had another year in Bloomington before your number was called #1 overall, but there's so much more hype and expectation making that leap and really pressure. What advice would you give to Fernando as he starts this next part of his career?
Well, that's a great question, and I think the way I would answer that is this young man is so down to earth, so in tune, knows what his future is. He's founded in his faith and belief and confidence and trust in Jesus Christ as his Savior. He knows where his talents and abilities come from. One of the things that he has to deal with that I didn't have to deal with, and that's all this social media, all the hype that you talk about and everything. And yeah, there was hype back then, but it's nowhere near what it is today. And so, as you listen to the interviews of Fernando, and you know, he's just so intelligent, so humble, and has a direction in his life that he knows where he's going. He's got a great head on his shoulder, not just for football, but for overall life. And I'm excited for him. I have the utmost faith, belief, confidence, and trust that the direction that his life is taking, with the foundation that he has with his parents, his faith, and his understanding of the importance of team. You know, and when you talk about a team, you talk about being able to bring a group of talented individuals together who use their God-given talents and abilities, and at the same time, put aside their own personal agendas for the success of the team, knowing that when the team wins, everybody wins. And I think he exudes that because as you listen to him, giving praise and honor to his teammates and taking the focus off of him and putting it on those around him. And that's what makes him such a great individual. And I have no doubt that the direction this young man's heading will be tremendous success and support, and he'll be touching a lot of lives as he already has.
All right, so I want to jump in the time machine a little bit and take us back to 1975 or so. Everybody who knows the 1976 story knows that story didn't start in 75, 76. It really started in 74, 75 with that amazing year. Again, like you said before, Kent, undefeated in the Big Ten, and then, but for the Scott May injury, probably another national championship. But what I did want to just kind of start with is that year ends and you lose two key players going forward. Obviously, you're bringing back you, Kent, Bobby, you're coming back, Quinn's coming back, Scott May's coming back. But you're losing Laz and you're losing Steve Green. And I don't think people realize, I was looking up the stats, they combined to average 26 points a game, which was 31% of the offense from the year before. That's a big loss. And obviously, people like Cruz steps in, Jim Cruz steps in, Abernathy steps in to fill those roles. But if you can try to take us back to that offseason, Bobby, let's start with you. What do you remember of just thinking about what was the team going to be in the next year? Was there any concern about how you would fill those roles as you practiced in the offseason and got yourself ready in the summer heading into the next season?
Yeah, it wasn't concern. It was just at that point, we knew that with the loss of Steve Green and John Liskowski, that because we had them for that 75 season.
Yeah.
So we know that we lost two good players, and we had to step it up because we had to take it to a whole nother level, because we had a chance to play with them and we had a good team, and it just got hurt his arm, and so I truly believe we could have won undefeated both years. But coming into the next year, we were more determined to make sure that we take it up to the highest level. Coach Knight had been on us. Back then we practiced 7 days a week. There wasn't no time limit. He got mad at us. We could be there all night and won't even get a dinner. But that's just the way it was. But we was ready for that. We all seasoned at that point. But we knew we had to be from day one because everybody was coming at us. And so, but with the loss of them, we couldn't really replace them. But what we did, we came together as a team. And we all had a lot more than one role. Everybody had. Scott was a great rebounder. Kent was a scorer and a great rebounder. Quinn, he run the offense, and he get on you like Coach Knight. Sometimes I hate to see him coming at me, but he gets his point across, and so we listened to each other. We were smart enough to know that if we talk to each other and we tell them the truth of what's going on, we can make those adjustments. We was probably the greatest team to be able to make adjustments, whether it's during the game and especially at halftime. We would always adjust. We was never in fear of losing. We just know they celebrate. They think they're up 4 or they down 4, and they think they're in the game. The fans going wild as we visit these schools. But the first 5 minutes of the second half, we take control, and that was by design. And so we knew what Coach Knight demanded from us, and he demanded perfection. Everything we did, he demanded perfection, and he'll let you know it if it's not perfected. And so it wasn't hard. It was just the intensity to get ready to do something special. We didn't know how special it was, but we wanted to win every game. And our mindset was that all summer we practiced together in Hyper Building. We practiced together. We was always on the same team. And we really got, especially after the year we had, we really was focusing in on. We really handed it to those football players who came up there and thought they could play some ball in the Hyper Building. So we bust their head and they went on back to the football field. But it was, but it was work. It was flat out work. We worked every day. We worked. There was no surprise with Coach Knight at this time.
Right.
We seen his worst, his best. So we knew what we had to do because we know we all going to have a bad day, but we still knew that he made it real clear. No matter what you do, if Scott's doing well and Scott he think he's doing really good, next you know, Coach Knight got him on the sideline and ripping him up. And I'm laughing because, okay, it ain't me today, so I said, I'm good. but we all knew that we would have a day, but we knew how to take it. You know, we just listened to him. And, you know, and I'll give you one good example. One time he sought me and Quinn down during the game. He didn't start us. He was mad at us or something. I don't know what we beat up Wayne Radford or them whistling really bad in practice or something. So he called himself going to bench us. Okay, so we warmed up and, you know, Wistman and Radford was starting. So the game go on. Next thing you know, 2 minutes in the game, we down 4, down 6. Coach Knight said, Wilkerson, Buckner, get your asses in there. So we get in there. So when I get to the court, we sign in at the scores table, and I'm coming off. Wayne Radford grabbed me by the arm. He said, Wilkerson. I said, yeah. He said, what took y'all so long? Because they was glad to get out of it. Because once we got in, we ran up the score, and we was off and gone. But Coach Knight does stuff like that. He wants to get your attention. He really do. He gets your attention in a way, and he want to see how you respond.
That's great.
And we always responded by responding, taking it to another level, you know, and that's what made us such a great team and great players. But we respected our second team because those guys were fighters. They helped us, you know, and we battled sometime, and, you know, they would beat us up, and Coach Knight started getting on us. And so we had to go into a huddle and say, wait a minute, if Coach Knight ain't calling no foul, let's get him. So we get Wistman and Wayne Radford. They couldn't get the ball up the court. I'm hitting him and pushing him, and, you know, he said, "What can you stop fouling me?" I said, "Stop crying." And my part, you can't get up the court. What's my problem? And Coach Knight get on there, and then we like, yeah, everybody shoot free throws. We laugh and say, okay, we got y'all there. But it was always a battle. But Coach Knight was always in control. He was always, and he knew all of us.
I love it.
Move us higher.
Kent, what do you remember from that off season? You know, losing Laz, losing Steve Green, getting ready for the 75-76 season. Anything specific you remember from that off season?
Well, I just know that in 74-75, we were hitting on all cylinders and really playing well. Our win margins were much greater than they were in 75-76. And the reason being is that in 75-76, every team that we played gave us their best shot. I mean, right. they brought their A game, and yet there were teams, of course, that we were able to win in spite of what they brought to us, and we showed that. We were 33-0. We weren't 32-0. We were 33-0. They just don't count the Russian game as a game, which you know, we proved in 75. At the very beginning, the two games we started out, we didn't play Sister Mary the Blind and
no, you didn't,
team or a Patsy team. We started out, and you know, Coach Knight got with Quinn and Scott and said, "We have an opportunity to play UCLA, the defending national champions. Do we want to do that?" And Scott and Quinn knew exactly. Well, every one of us on the rest of the team, they were representing us with Coach Knight and said, absolutely, we want to play them. And then we had an opportunity to play the world champion Russians. And those were the first 2 games of our season. And those first 2 games set the tone for the rest of our season in 75-76. Well, going back to 74-75, we were hitting on all cylinders and everything, and then Scott gets hurt. He goes down with a broken arm. Laz comes in. We continue our win streak and what have you. Go up against Kentucky in the Elite Eight and end up getting beat 92-90. And yeah, sure, we were dejected and hurt and all by that, and we should have won it. There are a lot of things that could have, should have, would have done, but in spite of that, in the locker room, we knew that we made a commitment to each individual made a commitment to ourselves and to us as a group, the returning players, that the only thing that we can do to get better is to go undefeated in 75 and 76. And so with that, we all spent the off season, like Bobby said, working, improving our games individually and collectively. And we had a purpose in mind, and that purpose was solely focused. We were willing to do the thing, and that's what made us successful. When you talk about success, successful people do the things unsuccessful people don't and won't do. And we were willing to do that. We were willing to do the things that unsuccessful people don't and won't do. Like Bobby running 40 miles a day. I used to run with 90 pounds of weight on me, 5 to 12 miles a day, 5 days a week. I mean, and do that to improve my overall conditioning and health and strength. And it paid off. I also spent 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day on the basketball court. That's what it takes to be a champion. Losers focus on what they're going through. Champions focus on what they're going to. And we never,
I like that.
Yeah, and we never, in any way, shape, or form, had a loser mentality. We didn't focus on what we were going through, because what we were going through was making us tougher to what we were going to. And as champions, we stayed focused. There was never ever a time that we thought we were ever going to lose, even down to the last few seconds. That was just the total mindset of each and every one of our team members, and collectively we were successful because of that. And to God be the glory, the praise, and honor that we have given Him for us being in that position to prepare ourselves.
I do want to just say, when you look at the season that you had, I mean, obviously, it's the best season ever. But when you really break it down and look at what the teams were ranked that you played throughout the year, I just want to rattle off some stats here.
Yeah,
you played the number 2 team.
Eric, I'm sorry to interrupt you. And there was only 32 teams that we played against.
Right.
In the tournament played. Not,
you played over the course of the year. You played against the number 2 team in the country twice. UCLA was ranked number 2 when you played them, and Marquette was ranked number 2 when you played them in the tournament. You played against the number 5 team in the country, the number 6, the number 9, the number 16, the number 17, the number 19, and you played in an NCAA tournament that did not seed the way that they seed now. Yeah. So now the top seeds are protected. You play the worst team in it if you're the best team. Not then. You opened up against St. John's, who you had to beat twice that year. You had to beat St. John's twice that year. You had to beat UCLA twice that year. You had to beat Michigan 3 times that year. It is bananas what you guys had to do that year. And Kent, you talked about this a little bit, about not worrying even when it was tight. You were Mr. Clutch that year against Kentucky in, I know, a game that Coach Knight poo-pooed as not being that important, but it was a rematch versus the team that knocked you out the year before. You hit a big shot at the end of the game in that game against Michigan, maybe the tightest game that you had played. You hit the putback that gets you to overtime that continues the streak. It did seem, Kent, like it was a theme. At the end of games, you were in the right place at the right time. I'm just curious, when you think about that season, do you remember one of those moments more than the other?
Well, thank you, Eric. But let me clarify something here that people seem to tend to forget or don't realize or pay attention to. And I'm honored that you recognize those two. But I was just doing my job. I was where I was supposed to be. I was in the right place at the right time. But in the game against Michigan, when Buckner took the shot, he missed it. People forget what Jim Cruz did when that ball careened off onto him. Cruzy did not grab the ball, come down with it to go back up for another shot. He knew with the time on the clock that the only thing that he could do was throw it right back up there before he even touched the ground. Okay, when he threw it back up towards the basket. That was the key to the success in that game. Absolutely. And I happened to be right there where I was supposed to be, doing what I was supposed to do. And by the grace of God, I was able to tip it in with 0.001 second to go on the clock as it went through the hoop.
And Bobby, I was also looking through the games. You, Mr. Clutch, in the NCAA tournament, against Alabama, which many of your teammates in that press conference that you did, many of your teammates cited that as like one of the toughest games of the year and how good Alabama was. And Bobby, you hit 2-3 free throws near the end of that game to seal the deal. I'm curious, Bobby, when you think back to that season, is there not a game, but a moment that you remember most fondly, a singular moment?
Yeah, well, there's so many of them. I love the fact that Coach Knight knew how to use me. Because Quinn got tired quick. He started holding his pants. You already know he's leaning over, and right away I knew I have to run a switch where I can guard his man, the ball handler, and let Quinn rest. Because when Quinn is fresh, he's a heck of a defender. Quick hands, quick first step, and so Coach Knight knew how to use him. But the toughest for me, none of them was tough, but it was just adjustments. Against UCLA, adjustments. I knew that they had a big front line. And I think I told Ken, I said, just block them out. I'm coming to the boards. And I would make a point to get to the boards.
Yeah, you did it 19 times. 19 times in that game.
Yeah, and I did whatever I had to do because I knew whatever I can do to help the team, because I could do so much in different positions and make a difference, and it makes it easier for my teammates. And that was my whole focus. Whatever I can do to help them out and make it easier for them. We needed Kent to score. We needed Scott to score. We needed Abernathy to take good shots. We need Quinn to run the break. And I needed to get the ball to the right person at the right time. And that was the key. But Alabama was a good team because they had T.R. Dunn, Leon Douglas. Man, they had a big squad. But it wasn't no fear because, we in attack mode at that point.
Was that your favorite moment, the Alabama game? I want you to give me one moment.
One moment. Well, in one moment, I think it had to be the Marquette game because with was it Lloyd Walton? I think it was that little guard for Marquette with Bo Ellis, and because they were so mad after the game, they wanted to come to the hotel. They wanted to fight us. I'm telling you, they came to the hotel looking for to fight us because they was mad because we beat them.
Really? How did security tell you? Did you stay in your rooms? How do you handle a situation like that?
No, Coach Knight had us all right there face to face. Come on, bring it on. and they didn't move. They started talking, but that's it. Hey, we were all right there in the lobby.
Whoa.
And Coach Knight don't back away now. He love a good fight now. I'm just gonna tell you. Especially when we didn't start the fight. We finished it. But that was, to me, one heck of a game because they had all these high hopes and dreams, and they played well. But we took them down, and for them to be that mad to come to the hotel and want to fight us, they forget. Well, me and Kent, we're from Indiana, we'll fight. And Coach Knight from the military, so he say charge, we coming up the hill. So.
Wait, Bobby and Kent, can I tell you another stat that maybe you may not have known? I was looking at the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and the championship game. You played Marquette, UCLA, and Michigan, arguably the other three best teams in the country. You played Marquette. They were 27-1, by the way, when you played them. But against Marquette in the NCAA tournament, you held them to 56 points. That was the lowest point total they scored all year. Against UCLA, you won 65-51. The lowest point total that UCLA had scored all year. And in the championship game against Michigan, you held them to 68 points. Unfortunately, not the lowest point total. The second lowest, because the lowest is when you played them earlier in the year and you held them to 67 points. I mean, that is... It is unheard of what you did in these games against the top. Nobody, it is a team that will never be equaled because even if a team does go undefeated, I don't care. They would never play the same level of teams because of the way the seeding works. You had to beat the best teams in the country over and over and over again in a way that no one who plays in the tournament now, you only really have to play the best teams in the country when you get past the Sweet 16. But in the Sweets, once you get to the Sweet 16, you're playing, the 30th ranked team in the country, the 20th ranked team in the country. What you guys did in those last three games to hold the teams to their lowest point total is remarkable. I'm curious, did you know that before I just said it?
I had no
You know,
idea. I appreciate you sharing that. That's incredible. But you know, it's really prophetic, kind of. If you look back at the very beginning of our season, us starting out playing the
Yes.
national champions and the world champions, it set the tone for the whole season, and with our whole mental approach to the game and to the season, and then for you to share those statistics. You know, people look at the records and they see 32-0 and they see 16-0 and all, but they don't take in all the things like what you just said that we had to, or that we accomplished during the season, and especially in the Final Four.
Yeah, it's
and I think adding to that, Ken, I think what people don't look at that everything with our team started with the guards. We had to control the backcourt.
Yeah.
We had to control the backcourt because we could not afford to get beat. You know, Kent was back there, but we didn't want him to get in foul trouble. So me and Quint made sure that we controlled those little guards, and we got real physical. And you know, Knight loved physicality, so that was right up our alley. And if we got too physical, we know how to back off and still meet them at half court and still pressure them. So the key was the guards setting the tone. You know, knowing who we're looking for, knowing how to get them the ball. And that was the key to everything we did, because they didn't even know. But we ran motion. They didn't know what the heck was going on. They didn't know what to do. They really did. They didn't know, because we had all kind of different alternatives in motion depending on where the ball goes. It wasn't where, you know, you got to go here, screen down. If the ball go to the center, you're doing something totally different. They're all confused. So I think they had a lot of confusion on the other team. They didn't do a good scouting job. They couldn't figure it out.
The Marquette story, though, that they wanted to fight. Kent, what do you remember about that? Do you
Was
remember the lobby?
Was Al McGuire there? Was he ready to go toe to toe with Coach?
No,
Yeah,
I
he
don't.
was there.
I don't.
Okay, go ahead, Ken.
I wasn't looking for McGuire. I just was making sure that we all had each other's back, which that was never a question or concern whether we were on or off the court. We always had each other's back, and you know that's I think the main part to consider about our team, the mutual admiration and respect that we had for one another. That if someone would create a racial slur, they had about one of my teammates, they had to go through me, you know, and I was going to stand up for them. And so, and I knew that Bobby had my back, because I knew he came from Anderson and he was a fighter anyway. You know, he knew how to take care of it. And it was not that we started the fight, like Bobby said. We never started the fight, but we would finish it.
Remarkable. When you look back over the last 50 years, what are one memory from each of you that you just find yourself drifting to about that season? You're driving in the car, you're waking up in the morning, you're lying down at night, and you drift back to the season of 76. Is there a moment, a play, a celebration that you remember most often? Bobby, I'll start with you.
Well, one thing I remember is that I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
For 4 days up there, and it just wasn't the same for me after that. It really wasn't, because you know, the team was gone, coaches was gone. I'm up there by myself, and it was hard. It wasn't a celebratory thing for me. The players was back celebrating, which, you know, they should, and they had a right to do. But when I got back, I didn't even go down there. I stayed at my mother's house. I just stayed with family, because I just felt like I wasn't part of it.
Right.
I mean, that's just how I felt, you know, because I was happy we won, but I just felt disconnected.
But
is there something earlier in the season from, or even in your 4 years at IU, that, because we talked about that previously on the show, how difficult that was in the aftermath of the championship game, but are clearly you're still so close with your teammates. Is there something that you go to that is a happier memory?
Yeah, well, my happiest memory is how we all came together under Knight. We all came together, and like Ken said, we did have each other's back. You know, It was without even being said. We knew, if one fight, we all going down. But we covered each other in practice. We might fight in practice, but we still respected each other. If Wayne Radford hit me with the elbow, he know I'm gonna get him back. It's just that's just how it is. But that was, to me, the build up, and as we went through that year, the greatest moments were those of being. I love playing away from home because they think they're doing something with their band and their cheerleaders and their hype, and they want us to be. We got on our red and white pants, and they talking about us. And my thing to all of them was, "You won't be laughing here soon." The fourth quarter, we all on the bench and we up, whatever, and then the band leaving, the crowd, the music's down. But when you get in there, they hype, and I love that because that's competition. Give us your best shot, and they did. They brought it, and then we countered.
I love it. Kent, before you answer, I do want to just follow up, Bobby, what you were saying about the hospital and the injury. I hope that the 50 years since, where people come up to you and tell you they remember you, where you get the recognition from the fans 50 years later, like you did a few weeks ago when you were back at Assembly Hall, like when you come on our show and we tell you that my dad, who went to IU in the late 60s and early 70s, when I was growing up, would regale me with stories about the absolute. I remember when Michael Jordan was playing Gary Payton in the finals, the Bulls and Sonics, and Gary Payton referred to himself as the glove on defense. My dad would say, "You think he's the glove? Let me tell you about Bobby Wilkerson." Bobby Wilkerson was 6'7" and seemed like he was 7'4", with arms that could go from one side of the court to the other, quickness. Like, that's how fans remember you, Bobby, that you, while you may not have been on the court for that championship, every fan knows that banner sways because you were part of that team. So I hope that the 50 years of hearing that from fans has allowed you to revel a little bit in the championship in a way that you couldn't in the days, weeks, months afterwards.
Well, it does. I've been humbled a lot, even in Anderson and all around Indiana, wherever I go, even out of state. It's a humbling feeling because they remember and love to talk about that team. I talked once in Maryland with the coach from, I think it was Williams, who was coaching Maryland, and we was at a function. And he came over and started talking to me and said, "How did y'all do it? I want to know how did y'all run that motion? Because nobody figured that out." So it's a joy to go around the country and at different events, and they find out who you are and they want to talk, and I engage them because that's a blessing that they still remember us and remember the IU, and they take the time and want a signature. And it's nothing but God that blessed me to do that. All that was one incident. It didn't stop me for the rest of my life, and the blessing to all the fans, not just at Indiana but around the country, that recognize our team and recognize, what I was a big part of that team. And that makes me feel good because,
Good.
I felt rejected for a minute, but I got over it because, your teammates let you live that down. We was going in the draft and, I had to move on. But
yeah, they're not going to feel too bad for you when you go the 11th pick overall. They're not going to feel too bad for you. Sorry, Kent, I interrupted Ward's question, but what's the memory that you drift back to?
No, thank you. And Bobby, I thank you for sharing that, Bobby. The memory that there's so many. One in particular it's hard to pick out, but I would have to say, in reference to what Bobby experienced in that final game, in the first few minutes where he got hit and was carried off on a stretcher unconscious. Our concern at that point in time, our focus was distracted because our focus had shifted to Bobby's health and well-being, and as a teammate, as a friend, and someone we cared about and loved, we were concerned about him and his health and well-being. And at halftime, we go into the locker room 6 points down to Michigan, and the first thing Coach Knight said to us, he knew that we needed to know how our teammate, how our friend was, because he knew that we needed to know. that Bobby was, he was
Wow.
resting comfortably in the hospital and being under observation. And he said, boy, he's going to be okay. He knew that we needed to know that first and foremost. And then he proceeded to do a little bit of coaching. But the famous words that I remember so very vividly were so prophetic. At the time, they weren't prophetic, but as you look back over the years, they're so prophetic. He said, boys, he says, in the next 20 minutes, you have an opportunity to make history. You have an opportunity to make history in the next 20 minutes. Just go out and execute your offense, play your team defense, play with poise, and play to your potential. And he said, in the next 20 minutes, you'll make history. And, we didn't know that to be prophetic. And now here for the last 50 years, what has happened? History was made. History was made. So that's a great memory that I hold on to and I keep talking about because of the total outcome and where we are today. And it's been by the grace of God that we've had to experience that.
Amazing.
Before we wrap up, Kent and Bobby, I know you guys have a partnership when it comes to the 76 team, and I just want to give you a chance to talk about, is there something as fans that we can be a part of? Is there merchandise that we can buy? Where can we go to find out information about what you're doing? Here's your chance. Tell us. We want it all. So tell us what we can do, and we want to support you.
I want to get one of those hats, Kent.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Okay, well, we have a lot of things going on. We're in the process of putting up our website and a line of sports apparel and just a lot of different items. And also we have some nonprofit things that we're doing, like the water company. We talk Clean Water for America because that is an issue in America. That's a big part of our heart. And, the training and of these young people and mentoring and counseling of these young people because, the violence and the guns and the drugs, we have to make a change. We can set the example by, continually to teach these young people and speak to them and convince them that, hey, this is not the goal. We got to get back to, obedience and respect and responsibility and restraint. And they got to have we got to help change their mindset. It's not about drugs and fighting and guns and, we're just killing each other. And so we want to make a difference, not just in our community, but all communities as we speak around the country and everything that we do, because it's a blessing. Men can't be on the circuit doing a lot of things. And we know that once we get the website up, probably within the next couple of weeks, and stuff will be flying off the chart. But all that is to be a blessing to the people, humanity, what we're going to do for the young people, the seniors. There's so much need for what we do as athletes. And I think if every former pro athlete go to their hometown, basketball, football, they can make a difference in this country. If they just go to their hometown and do something to bless the kids in the community, because it's time.
When your website is up and running, please let us know, and we will tweet it out. We will get it out. We'll talk about it on the podcast because, look, I grew up hearing stories about Kent Benson and Bobby Wilkerson, and you guys have been heroes of mine since I was a kid. It has been an honor to get to know both of you, even just a little bit. To talk to you every time is a pleasure and an honor. And I do want to just, before I toss it over to Ward, I want to say one thing that I read in doing research for this. On senior day against the last game of your regular season in the 75-76 team, Coach Knight told the Indiana crowd, take a good look at these kids because you're never going to see the likes of them again. And he was right, because you guys are unique and singular in the annals of sports history, and you hold such a special place in the hearts of every Indiana fan. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your stories with us, and just thanks for being such great ambassadors for Indiana.
Eric, thank you so much. And we just like your listeners, your subscribers, and Hoosier Nation, all of not only the Indiana University Alumni Association, but all of Hoosier Nation, those who support us all across the country and across the world, to know that what Bobby and I have put together here for our team All our members of the team are included. It's called the 76 Team LLC. 76 Team LLC. We're both a nonprofit organization and a for-profit organization, and we're in the process. We've already had 2 filmings, live filming of interviews for our documentary that we're putting together. We have several other interviews that's going to be taking place. Our anticipation is to have the Final Four, some footage to go into that documentary, and we're anticipating towards the end of April, maybe as late as mid-May, to have that documentary done. We'll be on. We'll have our own TV channel on Q Broadcast, 76 Team LLC, which will have a lot of content that we've been able to, of course, generate over the last 50 years, and so people have an opportunity to subscribe for that. And what we're doing is putting together, the 50th celebration, which is absolutely a huge historical event. It's never taken place in the history of athletics. What we're putting together here, and through the merchandise that Bobby talked about, all the things that we're doing with the giving back to the communities, to in regards to water and the mentorships and what have you. We're going to be having speaking engagements, prayer breakfasts, celebrations. Hopefully, we're looking at doing down in the, of course, Indianapolis area, Fort Wayne area, up in the Chicago area, down in New Albany area, Evansville area, covering the state of Indiana, especially for the Hoosiers to experience this firsthand. So thank you so much for this opportunity to join you guys here. Great questions, great interview. We appreciate you. We appreciate your listeners, the support of Indiana basketball fans, and may God bless and keep you all.
That was our guest. That was our guest.
I mean, the best is that there was almost a fight with the Marquette guys after the game, right?
Yeah, you do think that you've kind of gotten all the dirt you're gonna get. And look, there's no real dirt on this team. They're just incredible human beings that did the most remarkable thing in the history of college basketball. But you feel like every stone has been turned over, and then you hear that, and then and in your mind's eye, you're seeing like 27-1 Marquette going up against the undefeated Hoosiers in the lobby of probably like a Hilton. And
Yes.
you're like,
with Bobby Knight just in the front of a line of Hoosiers going, bring it. Bring it. Make the move, Al. Make the move. It's like the best version of the scene in Anchorman when the rival news crews come after each other.
It's funny you say that, because I was going to make a quip like that's Eric and I have each other's back against other podcasts, but then I immediately went to Anchorman in my mind.
Yeah, just us at assembly call. Just I bring a trident.
I've got a bike chain.
Yes. I mean, look, I'm serious when I say I grew up with stories about these guys. My dad, my uncle telling me like how special that group was, and that in many ways it's ruined basketball for them because nothing will be as good. And my dad still to this day, he will make comparisons to the 76 team. He's like, what are you doing? That is ridiculous.
Well, and now we have that with football. Like we said, we got our 76 with the 2026 football team. And by the way, it is confusing to me that we talk about it as 2025, but they won the thing and they had the playoffs in 26. We'll see how that shakes out over time. But we have that now.
It's not going to shake out over time. It's always going to be the 2025 champions.
I don't know.
No. What do you mean you don't know? Every champion that has won in football, even though they win in the next calendar year, is considered the champ of the previous year.
I don't know. I'm not sold on it, because we talk about the 75-76 Hoosiers, And I get it. There's more of the season.
All of the Big Ten season.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they won the championship in football in 2026, 50 years after.
I will say this to you. I do think it's weird that they don't refer to it as the 25-26 season.
I'm saying it's confusing. Games are played in both years. And the reason you're claiming we did it on the 50th anniversary.
Well, we did.
Yeah, I know we did, Eric. What I'm saying is, the 2025 football championship was on the anniversary of the 76 championship. Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
It is, just to go back to forgiving the weirdness of the numbers, the fact that it is the 250th anniversary of the country, that it has been 50 years since we won basketball. It is nuts. It is nuts that, we are the centers of the universe. That's what it feels like.
We always are. It just sometimes happens that other people acknowledge that too.
Yeah, well, it never happened until now.
Well, no, it happened in 1976.
But not holistically with football, to have both of them.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's true.
The fact that Indiana is the team, the program, the school that owns the last 2 undefeated seasons in both major sports is bonkers.
And how hard we're all now like the 72 Miami Dolphins, and that now we've got a football team that every time a football team loses, we're going to pop the cork. But Michigan did it 2 years ago. So I don't think maybe we're going to hold on to that quite as dearly.
16-0 though.
That's true. That's true.
No, look, I'm happy every year. The 76 team has always talked about that they're not the Miami Dolphins, that they don't really care. Quinn talked about it.
Yes.
Well, we are as fans.
We are. We are petty, and that means something to us. And now more than ever, now that we have both, more than ever.
Oh my God, Ward, I'm going to freak out every time.
So you'll have 2 cigars smoking in each side of your mouth when 100%. The last team loses. I got to go. We got to wrap this up.
This is awesome. Follow us on Twitter at Hoosier Hysterics for hysterics. No E.
No I.
But
sometimes why.
From the halls of assembly, you'll hear us scream and shout. Our love of Indiana is manic and devout. Everything we discuss in unique manner. We won't be satisfied until we hang another banner. Us two goofy guys go by names of Ward and Eric, and as you probably know by now, we're Hoosier